Welcome to Lisbon UX. We're going to talk about design ops.
Okay, so Alex, principal designer, Farfetch. I specialize on mobile application design. I joined Farfetch about 2 years ago, when actually we did not really have a design team. On that stage, Farfetch is mainly using contractor designers to come in and do tasks. And well, now it seems strange, but there was a split between UX and UI, and that really confused things, because UX designers would basically just do wireframes and then kind of pass on signed off wireframes to interface designers, and then interface designers would do their work and sign it off, pass on to engineering. But then this was quite linear, and if something was actually wrong, there wasn't a way to go back and iterate. So when we joined, we started hiring designers, in-house designers, but that wasn't the core of solution, because we hired a lot of designers, but I personally think that we did not end up with a design team. We just end up hiring 40 designers in one room. So having 40 designers, well, okay, it was split across Lisbon, Porto, London, and Shanghai. But again, I personally felt that we're lacking the sense of a design team, because design team is not like putting many designers in one room. It's just like a lot of good designers in a room. So that's why there was a need to justify and explain what a designer is, like in our age. And I think I want to take you through kind of my thoughts about what design is and who we are as designers. So let's start. Let's go back, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when I was just starting a career. So there wasn't such things as UX designer or UI designer. What I remember, there were like graphic designers, some people who were pioneering web design. They started kind of bearing the title of a web designer, and that's what I called myself, web designer. There were even Flash designers. That was a big thing as well. But within 10 years, it changed dramatically. We don't have Flash designers anymore, but instead, we still don't know who we are because we have all these titles. So you have graphic designers, web designers, UX designers, UI, software, interaction, product, service. They call themselves so many different names. And I don't think it's wrong. There's nothing wrong about it. But I really dislike when people would interpret different terms like UX design without actually having a clue what it means. So I think it's really important for myself to justify what kind of designer I am. So I started thinking about it, but again, to revert and understand what kind of designers we are, I looked into our industry. So to me, this is about kind of what kind of designer I am. We work in industry that's creative and technology. I don't think you can argue that it's just about technology. It's also about creativity, and it's really important to remember that. So bearing that in mind, this is the definition. This is a sensible definition of what product designer is. So it's a digital product design is an iterative design process to solve functional problems with a practical solution. I think Facebook was one of the first teams who adopted the term product designer for digital design. So they kind of inherited traditional product design from industrial designer and started applying that to what we do with digital products. So now let's kind of justify and map where we are. So designers now sit between product and engineering. We're basically a connecting pillar between two. We collaborate with both. And what we do, we identify a real problem. There are other designers, concept designers, creative designers. We are different from them, that we're always working on an existing real problem, not a conceptual problem or theoretical problem. It must be real. We always offer best possible solution to that problem, and we launch to market. To me, if one of those pillars is missing, that you're not really a product designer. Probably you should justify yourself. You don't like maybe you don't enjoy shipping. So in that case, I wouldn't frame yourself as a product designer, but again, like you can create conceptual interfaces. That's still fine. It's good. But this is kind of how I framed it. So what I also identified, product design mindset is something that also makes us unique. So if you think about it, our industry originated from startups because like that's how it started, like a couple of guys in a garage building up a software without any funding. So that's called entrepreneurship. So I think in every one of us, this entrepreneurial DNA really drives us and makes us different. Like, you know, you don't always go to university and like study a lot to become a product designer. It's all about kind of having this approach, how to solve problems without having anything in your head. It's all about materializing an idea. It's like magic. So what we do, we lead interface design and user experience design. We own those domains, and it's not about picking one of those. We are involved in product strategy. We have to influence product strategy. And obviously, entrepreneurial approach is also what makes product designers kind of unique. So projects end to end, we recognize an opportunity, we try to understand the customer problems, and we're responsible for final delivery. Methodologies. So UX and UI, they're not professions, they're methodologies, they're tool sets. They're very powerful tool sets, and obviously some like user experience methodologies more, some like visual design and traditional design methodologies more. It's up to you, but it's like it's a wide toolkit, and I encourage every designer to utilize it to the best of their abilities. So I really wanted to use this picture because I strongly disagree with it. So like it's been floating around the internet, and like I've seen this appearing in many design meetups, UX meetups, and the way this is justified, it's like, hey, look at UI design, it's so stupid, and look at UX design, it's real, it shows the real user problem. I don't think this is a valid way to assess the difference between UX and UI. This only does one thing. It illustrates an example of a terrible design. It's not about UX versus UI. What we see here, a really ugly designed path, not practical, not functional, and it doesn't even look good. And then on top of it, people are just kind of violating the grass and spoiling. So, but at the same time, like, you know, we know our methodologies, we know our practices, but at the same time, I like looking back to products, like really great examples of design. And for me, this is an opposite. This is an example of a beautiful design. And what's interesting, this wasn't driven by, let's say, scientific process. It was actually a radical design, driven by a direction, by designer's vision. And it's quite interesting because when they were working on this, they had this kind of concept. They justified an idea. Our product will help users to put 1,000 songs to your pocket. And that kind of tagline was followed through product strategy, through definition, through engineering, up to marketing to the streets. And when they were working, like, you know, they obviously did competitor analysis, and there was a situation when research came back to Steve Jobs, and they were like, all the competition is using FM radio transmitters within their MP3 players. So we obviously need to do that to compete with the market. And then basically their team went on, so how does that align with our direction? Putting 1,000 songs to your pocket, will FM transmitter help us or no? No. And they removed the feature. Although research suggested that that's a good thing, that's the market trend and everyone is doing it. And I think to design really innovative, strong products, you shouldn't deny the scientific knowledge and research, but also you should be brave enough to make radical decisions and to have a vision as a designer and a direction. So to summarize, our approach is one, scientific. So that's kind of all the shared knowledge that you can find online, read in books, by following designers who practice right now. But the second part is the visual, the design, training UI, and that's very hard. I personally, at least for me, it was very hard to learn visual design because I think it's not about just reading books, but it's more about doing it 1,000 times. More you do it, better you become, and it's very difficult to evolve your visual sense. But it's worth doing, and I've seen people who came into profession from driving a taxi, and they became good designers. Initially, they were like, I would never do it, and they tried to focus on the technical aspect of the industry. But then I just encouraged them to constantly design more, use Pinterest, just browse more, and as a result, their visual taste improved. And so, yeah, I encourage everyone to focus on both. Now, going back to our process, like, again, industry changes so fast. 2 years ago when we started, pretty much we kind of follow this kind of linear process. Brief, plan, research, ideation, design, prototyping, testing, build. Within last year, it dramatically changed. We spent much more time prototyping and testing ideas rather than just kind of evenly working on a brief or doing the research or ideation. So, and from here, I want to jump to evolution of design tools because I think the way the process changes, design tools also change. So going back, remember the days then, like where all UI was designed in Photoshop, and for wireframing, you had software like Exur. And there wasn't really a good solution to share design files. So when Dropbox appeared, people started using that. But again, so we had like range of general design tools. But later on, they all disappeared. And they became redundant because there was a need for a specialist design tool. And Sketch was a revolutionary specialist design tool that was kind of focused on UI design. And that's how they managed to eliminate the monolith empire of Adobe and running of the software. A small group of designers and engineers launched a product that completely kicked off from the market Adobe. And then Abstract joined in as a better proposition for replacement for Dropbox. Later on, we start seeing prototyping tools coming in. InVision, Marble, Principle, Flinto, really easy to use and learn. But those specialized prototyping tools were mainly focusing on basic interactions. And later, like more interesting tools joined in, like Framer and Origami. And again, there's competition, like Origami disappeared now. It was a great idea, but it didn't work as well as the Framer. So all these tools allowed us to focus on logic, smarter logic for prototypes, testing data inputs, designing with real data. And then what's happening now, I kind of see the shift towards tools that are focusing on component-driven design, component libraries and team collaboration. That's where it's moving. So like Framer and Figma, they're both two powerful tools. They're kind of heavily competing, and I don't know who will win. But this changed our design process as well. So with this team, when we had so many designers, 40 designers, I had no clue why do you need so many designers. And more than that, I had no clue how to work with so many designers. So obviously by reading articles, like looking in what's happening in industry, component-driven design was kind of the thing that saved our situation because we heavily needed alignment. We had designers working in different offices. Even within one building, different teams of designers would work on design and produce different assets, small discrepancies like different buttons, different styles. So we started looking into crafting a clean and organized library of components. And we crafted one in Sketch. We tried Framer as well. I don't know, I actually wanted to show you a demo of how it works, but I'll try to show it with one hand by holding the mic. So what we did quickly, because we were in desperate need for creation of this kind of component libraries, we went through our UI, broke it down to components, and in Framer, we've built this is classic, this is older version of Framer, classic Framer. So what we did, we broke out our interface to kind of 4 components, and we coded them. So it means like if you want to create one of the units that we have, like the hero unit, you can just go on create a snippet, and it would render a unit for you. And from here, you can just directly type in text and change. You could also plug in a JSON file and kind of generate this based on real data. But again, you could also just go on and create full experience by bringing in just another snippet, which is kind of full, which would prototype a couple of pages, like, and you'll have all these beautiful interactions. And again, this can be all data driven, and you can pretty much build up a fully functional app just for a concept. And then if you tweak one of the concepts, you get updated results immediately. So this alignment and component-driven design, without actually support of an engineering, helped us to be really aligned. More than that, like, teams started contributing to each other's roadmap. So for example, team working on the China, because we were using same design language and same components, they would work on part of the experience that kind of ahead of the roadmap of other team. And we would just consume the stuff they created, the components they developed, and adapt it to our roadmap. And yeah, we achieved good consistency, and we started building a lot of UI for the mobile app. So last year, we've built a lot of UI, and we love experimentation. However, to be realistic, right? Because I don't want to exaggerate. And in my head, in every designer's head, the ideal process is the lean design. Like, you know, when you design, build, iterate, rebuild, and iterate. However, in reality, this is where we ended up. We were like coming up with an idea and then spending a lot of time designing and building it. We had to do all our exploration here rather than there, because the timeframes for delivery are so long that usually designers just leave by the time when it's released, so they actually don't get time to iterate, or the priority of the product shifts. So it's a big problem, and we kind of, okay, how are we going to deal with this? So what we started doing, we just started talking to engineers again. So where is our problem? So we designed the UI, we map it to data points at the backend, connect it, and in theory, you should have a feature ready for release. But in reality, for engineers to ship that feature, there's a lot of technical steps that they have to go through technically just to implement it. And shifting or aligning text from left to center or to right, or changing the color of the button, has to follow the full process of implementation. And because there's no really difference from them, they're building UI from scratch. So the conclusion is always building interfaces from scratch on engineering perspective makes us very slow and inflexible. So we've solved the problem by implementing component-driven design on design level, but on engineering, we're still kind of facing this problem. So at least now our goal is clear. We started optimizing for consistency and experimentation, and to achieve it, UI should be easy to change, and we need to be able to build UI super fast and launch as quick as possible. So this is all now about transition from just component-driven design to component-driven UI, when there's actually blurred line between design and engineering. So with this new approach, it means that components that designers use and engineers in their production code are pretty much the same. So right now we're implementing this project. We're kind of leveraging a meta language that describes our UI in JSON. Designers, instead of designing details in Sketch, for example, will be just using JSON snippets to build up and prototype quick interfaces and then ship fast. So like idea, use the elements from our design language in UIKit, which are basically JSON components, and ship immediately. Like within a couple of days, you can ship it and you start gaining data. Then from there, you either continue the path of iteration by using UI components, or as soon as you learned enough, you invest money to build a new custom component that kind of is customly designed to service the problem that you are solving. But if you invest in building the component once, you can then reuse it, and everyone else on your team can. So this is what we're kind of shifting to right now. And again, it's a new way of working between designers and engineers. So beauty of it, managers, product owners, they won't be prescribing design. They're actually focused on framing problem and understanding what really the problem is. Then designers, instead of pushing pixels, We'll be just solving problems through the means of the UI that's already defined. If there's a need to create new component, yes, fine, we'll create new component. But if there's a component that could do that job just as an MVP, use it and try it. So that's it. And yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to discuss any of these ideas or your ideas in break or at the panel. And if you want to find me on LinkedIn, ping me. I'll be happy to answer any of the questions, and you can follow me on Twitter. So that's it.
So, hey everyone, thank you for coming tonight. I'm gonna be here speaking about design ops. Okay, this will be a challenge because like a true Portuguese people, I do like. So, okay. So I'm gonna take you through some basics around design ops and how can we make our teams more effective and also more happy. So this is our agenda for today. I'm gonna try to be quick. What is design ops? Why do we need it? When is time for it? Who is this person or team? And how can we use and foster our team and our organizations with a design ops mindset? So who am I? Like Alexander said, I started as a web designer as well. And designing websites in Flash, yay, cool stuff. I've taken a multimedia degree and I started immediately working at an agency as a team of one. Since that time, I've been a self-taught designer and I've been focusing on user interface and user experience, and lately more around working processes. That's why I'm talking about design ops and design teams. I'm Portuguese, like you can probably notice by my accent. And I've worked my entire life here in Portugal, and except for a couple of years that I was in London working at Net-a-Porter. Now I'm back in Porto and I'm working at Prozis. Okay, so let's get started. What is design ops? Design ops sets a team for success. I think this sentence is really strong and it says all because it focuses on the products and the people. Of course, that projects and products are important. However, here the process are the main focus. Like Dave says, design ops is everything that supports the craft, the methods, the process. And my words are this. Design ops is a mindset. You guys probably heard about DevOps, which is also a mindset. Design ops is not the same thing, but it's also a mindset. But now we can think a mindset that fosters collaboration between product design and engineering, and the aim is to make design processes scalable, robust, and quick. I think we can learn a lot from our colleagues developers. I think they are more and more advanced than us designers, so I think we can use the same knowledge there. So I believe this holistic approach, these three elements, people, process, and products, are the pillars to create a sustainable culture. And why do we need design ops? Most of us, we came from a studio background. So we are used to deconstruct problems, to have the time to understand them, and to get to the design solution with our time, with our creativity. Nowadays is different, right? We work in agile environments. We work a lot with tech, and we see ourselves working in a different way with a different mindset, which means working a more engineering-led mindset, which means less time for the creativity and the pressure to get to the design right, making sure that the solution covers all the needs, business needs, user needs, scenarios, etc. So we are much more focused on the process here. Ooh. And if we think why Spotify is so popular, okay, they have a great product, right? But culture-wise, they are completely engineer-led, which puts us designers a bit aside. And don't get me wrong, this is not wrong. What I'm just trying to say is that engineers, they made their way of working. And I believe that our community, we designers, our teams, we need to speak up and show our value. And Spotify is just one example of many, many other examples where, yeah, I can see design here. You guys can see design here? No. So they are not included in their workflows. It's all about engineers and release and builds and all that crap. So that we need them, but and that is the point as well. So we need them, right? We need to work together. And also, I feel that we designers sometimes we just want to be and stay in our dome. But that attitude doesn't help at all because we don't show, we don't amplify the value of design. So this is what I saw in a culture optimized for engineers, right? Designers work in silos, they don't speak to each other, even in the same room, which is awkward. Design as a production role. Everyone does everything, and then come the designer and just designs, and then we are working agile. No, this is completely waterfall, right? So we should be more in a strategic position. We still hire designers based on engineering practice. It doesn't make any sense. We need to adopt the process. We need to adopt the attitudes as well when we are hiring designers. And tools, they are lazy, and I like that. I think we should be a bit more lazy as well and like do more things more automatic, but we should choose our tools based on our needs. So when is really time for design ops? When you cannot have the space, the luxury of roles to blur, you need a specialization. When your team is growing and sync is really hard, and when we need a safe harbor to be vulnerable. And what value does it bring? I think Meredith from Pinterest. I read this, and for me, it makes all sense. So design ops can help to create a space, create the mindset, setting the stage to amplify the value of design by bringing the right people. This is all we want, right? The right people, the right time, with the right skills to do their best job. And we need to help them. We need to create the conditions. And who is this person or team? So a design lead many times has these operations in his or her responsibilities. This is my case. So at Prozis as a lead, this is my experience. Actually, I've made this deck with my experience and what I've learned at Prozis, trying to, I don't know how to say in English, arrumar a casa. Cleaning the house doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so this is my responsibility there, and this is nothing new. So managers, they have been for a long time doing this kind of stuff for the team, looking after tools, looking after equipment, process, etc. At Net-a-Porter, for example, sorry, Farfetch, I had a colleague that still has a full-time job as design ops, and actually they just hired another guy. So now they are, if I'm still right informed, 2 design ops guys for 20 designers, helping to set team for success. At Pinterest, for example, they are a much bigger organization, with an even more bigger team, and they have a full team dedicated to this. This is true, right? The head of the designer, the head of the project manager, the head of QA as well. Like, we are always doing this dance. But how can we design at scale using design ops practices? Ideally, we should focus we should look at these 5 items. So team and structure of the team, collaboration, tooling, workflow, and design systems. Team. How we structure a team is really, really important. And it should be a strategic decision. We should be doing this like with real intention. We should inform ourselves to make this kind of decisions. What are we looking for? One is, what do we have in-house? And 2, what are we looking for? And this should be a decision made with a C-level, of course. So everyone should be involved. We should be aligned with the board to make sure that we have the budget, we have the workload, of course, and that we can hire the best talent. And so I've worked on like several models of teams: a centralized team, all the designers together, decentralized team, cross-functional teams. Like, maybe this is the more common thing now, I think so. And a hybrid model, which is my favorite. Why this is my favorite? Because I think this is a more balanced way of working, a more productized way. This is really trendy now, right? So we are working in products, not in projects, apart from agency models. And we have several designers working in several different products, and they don't spend the days together, they don't work together. So the hybrid team allows to have these cross-functional teams, but also some space to work together as designers. So this is why the hybrid model is my favorite one, because I feel that is a more balanced one. Hiring. This is a huge one, right? Hiring, we could speak like all night long about hiring. So I've just made this slide, because I just hired 3 designers, so I've been reading a lot about how to hire the right talent, the right people. So I would say that these are the key points when you are looking to hire someone for your team, and that ideally you want to have like hunters and farmers. Hunters and farmers, okay. Hunters. Those kind of people that want all the time new stuff, they want discovery all the time, they want to experiment all the time. And then the farmers, the ones that are more solid, they just want to keep the work going, they keep the pace, and they deliver. Hunters, they energize. Farmers, they keep the team stable, which is really, really important. So look at your team and try to identify what are the strengths of each designer. audit if they are in the right products, if their skills and also ambitions are according with that, and meet the leadership like every other week to make sure that the products are properly staffed. And this last one, I can't stress this enough. Hiring is part, as a leaders, hiring is part of our daily responsibilities. Hiring is like a product. It doesn't have a start and an end. This is a continuous job. You are always looking for talent. You want the best people in your team. You want superstars, but rock stars. You want farmers, and you want hunters. So you just need to keep your eyes open. Just go to meetups like this one. Just know people. Just speak to them. Just try to know them and try to understand what drives them as well. And when you need to hire someone, you already know where they are. This is a bit sneaky, right? Sorry. So yeah, this is really important. I think the overall goal is to keep the design team healthy, running smoothly and efficiently. Collaboration, this is a big one. Okay, so communication is at the heart of our jobs, or it should be. What I've been observing is the opposite. We don't speak to each other a lot, or at least we should speak more, but this agile and tech stuff also, it doesn't help. How can we make this work with all these new stuff around us designers? So we should try to create the space. And having a design studio helps a lot. Design reviews as well, like a ritual. And updates, so to and behind your team. Why? To keep everyone aligned. Align is a really important one as well. You just need to align up, align left, line right, wherever, and align down. I mean, you just need to align with everyone to keep everyone on the same page. Feedback is a gift. Yes, it is. And you know why? Because when someone tells you something about your piece of work, it's a gift because that person just thought about that to help you. It should be constructive, of course, but if someone does that, the action of doing it is a gift. And why so important? Because one, we can avoid spending like a lot of time working on a superstar design with flaws. 1, 2, perspectives. You want new perspectives. You want to sync the team. 3, and this one, I think this one is very important. I've learned a lot on design reviews, presenting the work. That helped me to explain my rationale around design decisions. And I truly believe this can help your team as well. And also, juniors can learn a lot with or from seniors. So I believe that healthy design teams have feedback built into their process. But how might we create a culture of feedback actually? So psychological safety, it's very important. We need to have this space to be vulnerable, but everyone to make ridiculous questions. It should be a safe harbor, in person or remote. It should exist. And formalizing the feedback process is really important. You guys need to have processes and ceremonies in place to help you to make this organic. So this is work. This is from internet. This is not my studio because I don't have one yet. But I had one in the past. And in the past, I felt that the team was much more open to discuss and much more open to like draw, sketch in the studio that in the normal meeting room, like a boring meeting room, because this is the work of everything and of everyone, sorry, and everyone can go there and just sketch and just speak and just discuss. So I used to say that the walls of the design studio are a sacred space. And this is the sacred space of the team where ideas can be shared and discussed. And being a remote team is not an excuse. Again, we need to collaborate more. We need to give feedback each other more. So you can use the freehand from InVision, and it's pretty easy. You can see the names, the colors, the little faces there. So it's not an excuse, okay? Reviews. Reviews. I expect that you got, how many of you are running reviews in your organization? Okay, some, cool. So please try to do more and more and more. And how can you guys can do that? So this needs to be cultivated. Sometimes I feel a pain in the ass to my team, like every single Friday I go there. Oh, we have a review. Just fill the agenda there. What you gonna be talking about? And they say, oh my God, this. But I feel now that after 6 months, they are used to it. They just don't, they just go and then just enjoy the time with the team. So also make the time enjoyable. Take some sweets. I think it helps a lot. Buying people with food always works, right? So, okay. But the thing is, you just show up, you just show the work, but you also need to teach them how to review work, how to participate. And when, because this is a question that comes up a lot, when is the time for a review? So early on, the better, right? The project or the product or the feature, wherever, it's just starting, and you are much more open to critiques. So this is perfect. This is the perfect timing. Then middle and end of the project, they should feel natural. How many people should be there and who should be there? So designers, you can also invite some product owners or product managers or wherever do you guys want. But in the beginning, I think just a design team to make like the sacred space, to make this a thing of our team is better to bond. So no more than 7 people, up to 10 maximum, because it's really hard to manage. People just get excited and just speak and it's crazy. So no more than 7 people. If your team is really big, try to split by streams or clusters as you guys do normally, and also to keep everyone engaged. And how it helps. Bottom line. Designers will get feedback to refine the work. Otherwise, they will keep doing stuff, they will keep working at their desks without any feedback. Some best practice, use a facilitator. I've tried with and without, and I think with it helps a lot. Why? Because when you are a designer presenting your piece of work, you are not the best person to facilitate and to take notes and to discuss and to listen. So the first thing you should do as a designer presenting work is listen. So two, one mouth. Okay, so you should listen more. Also, you should help the team framing the problem, the goals, the needs. And if you want some specific feedback, just let the team know. Also, don't pitch. Again, listen. Don't try to influence others, which is a very natural thing from as designers, right? We just try to sell our idea and we just get excited and this is amazing, right? And people will not say like in your face, no, it's not. It's hard. So try to make it neutral. I love the passion. I really love the passion. I'm not saying that. But try to keep neutral, to keep it open. And the most important thing, I was about to not say that. We are not critiquing the designer, the person. We are critiquing the piece of work. Please remember everyone about this. This is too long, right? Okay. Tooling. Okay, tooling. We use a lot of tools, right? I think so. We use when you are analyzing which tools you should adopt, I think these are the three key factors that can help you to determine and also it can help you with adoption of the tool. So first thing I would say, consider the tools that the team is using now to collaborate, to design, to prototype, etc. Identify what they are doing with those tools, what the main goal there, what's the job, and then choose the tool for the job. And also, it's scalable. It can be integrated in our workflows, and also when you're gonna ask for licensing, what are the financial impact? Those are not even all the tools that we use, and probably you guys as well. I would say that try to put together a tool stack like Dev. They also have a stack. Let's copy that as well. Let's try to agree as a team the stack that we want to use to produce the workflow. Okay, workflows are really key in design ops. I think maybe they are one of the most important things. Collaboration is very, very important as well, but workflows, because they bring together the people, the products. Collaboration is really important, but workflows helps to formalize the process. So 3 questions. How do designers work on the same project and even on the same team together? How do they work with engineer, with product, with everyone in the company? And how can we adapt our UX activities through the product life cycle? We use so many buzzwords, we have so many options, so many methodologies. The thing is, many times, many designers, they come to me and they ask me, which one should we use? So I would say that just agree on a basic traditional design process as a team to like have this common sense of what are the key stages, the key milestones and deliverables, and what is expected from them as well. Also, this is not rigid. This should be flexible. So if you want to just mess things around, just do it. Each designer should be able to do it. In regards to working with other disciplines, I really like this working model, the three-legged stool from Airbnb, because I truly believe that working closely with product management and with engineering, it helps everyone to grow in a more sustainable way, in a proportional way. So design is not more important than engineering or even than product. We are all the same. We are all at the same level. We just need to grow as a team. Product life cycle. As you can see here, so a product life cycle has these 4 key stages, I'd say. And we should first identify which stage is your product on before defining workflows, UX activities, and all those things around products. And why is that? Because each stage has different needs. So you need to adapt the way you work. Product team process. This is a big one. So this is very, very, very important. Why? Because designers should be included in team sprints. If not, it's wrong. It seems obvious, right? So we are a product team, we are part of the team, so we should not be like pushed aside and just stay okay with that. We should speak up and say, man, we are part of the team. Just write user stories for us. Just keep us involved. Just invite us to the discovery phase. Let's do this together. Just let's run some workshops. And with the developers, the same. So both designers and developers, they should work together side by side. They should actually help each other. Example, a developer can help ideate. We can do workshops together, right? They also have good ideas and they have the long vision of, okay, this is feasible, this is not feasible, this will take effort, so maybe you can go that way. They can help us with that. And we also can help them with some QA because they don't have our eyes, like Alexander said, the visual culture, that education is really hard for them. And we just need to accept that because they have another cool stuff to do. They are really good at it. So one really, really important thing is we should split the elephant, okay? Like developers do, we should split the problem in small problems and keep delivering and keep iterating. So 2 weeks sprint, 1 week, we just keep shipping. We just keep delivering value. It's wrong to go away and just make your amazing design and that this is it that you need to build. Oh no, but that is not possible. Oh no, but just try to avoid that, right? Just if we want to be more strategic, we should act as strategic people and try to plan our work in a more efficient way. Also, with product managers, we can shape the product. It's not up to them. It's up to us with them, with the team. Product owners should use our skills to shape the vision of the product, to define and refine the product. When it comes to research, I feel that's a bit different. Why? Because it's more unknown territory. So I find it's best to separate from the developer's workflow because we cannot measure what we don't know. But just keep the team involved. Just keep sharing with them insights. Just keep to avoid this is what you need to build. I like Dave. I think he has a really nice vision. And almost finishing, design systems, of course. Why? Clearly, design systems and ops are very, very related. Actually, that's why I've been doing all this work at Prozis, because we want to build a design system, but first I needed to organize all this stuff to set the stage to start building something. So, but what I find really interesting is that a lot of challenges of design systems are more around technical stuff. And with design ops, it's much more about culture and be disruptive and education. If you guys ask me what is a design system, I would say that is a single source of truth, which groups all the elements. When with all elements, I want to say design, code, and documentation, because if a design system doesn't have design, code, and documentation, it's just a style guide, right? And it's a product that serves products. Among the several benefits that we all are aware of using and creating and building a pain in the ass design system, which is really, really hard and really, really time consuming, and the buy-in, it's but it helps. It's worth it. So I believe that with a system in place and the development of a system, we can save time and money, reuse, like Alexander was saying, and really, really well. So a component-based approach, reuse, consistency for our users. Users will be familiar with your experiences. That's the main point. And you can scale processes. You can scale design. It doesn't make sense to keep doing design like 20 years ago. We just need to wake up and using more things like abstract. We need to be more automatic, process-wise. Wisdom. People who know their shit, these three guys. So they are sharing all the time content around design ops. So if you want to know more about design ops, just follow this. And like Dave says, your designers are amazing. So try to help them setting the stage, creating the environment to give them the opportunity of doing the best work they can do. Thank you.
Well, so today we're going to talk about, unified design process, right? So I'm going to give you our perspective. So how we build a tool to actually make it unified. So basically we build interactive design tools for the modern design team. In this talk, we're going to basically go a bit through the design process that a lot of teams have nowadays from our experience. And just, by the end of the talk, I hope you just get an idea of like, why do we build the way we build and how can this help you? But before starting, we're actually going to introduce ourselves. So my name is Aroa. It's a weird pronunciation, but just as it's written. And I do design partnerships at Framer. So I basically understand workflows of different companies, and I try to fit Framer in the workflow to see how we can optimize it. And we joined the same day, so
Hi everyone, I'm Edoardo, Mercati. I joined with Aroa Framer like 8 months ago. I worked there as a product designer. And as a product designer, you work pretty much on everything at Framer because it's still a small team. So you work from marketing to website and the product itself, which is designed in Framer, by the way, like designing Framer in Framer, which is. Thanks.
Cool, let's start. So I want to start with a question, and I said you need to interact, so just raise your hand if you actually think so. If you don't, just don't. But who here thinks the design process is broken right now? I do. Okay, not a lot of you seem convinced, so you're kind of happy with your design process. But I'm just gonna show you why I think so, and you can definitely have your opinion at the end. But for that, I'm gonna go back into the start of how we interacted as humans to interfaces, and then how did the tools evolve to actually design for these interfaces. So starting on the interactions we had, I'm gonna go back really far away. Command lines. So that was one of the first interactions we had with computers. We could literally just input text and it would output text for us. You could do simple computations. I don't know, you could put like 10 plus 10, it was 20. And there was obviously no interaction in terms of visual interaction. But obviously this evolved and we had the first visual interaction with computers. That's Macintosh. Maybe you're familiar with it. And well, here we see that actually the design started, kind of interface design, I mean. So here we see that obviously basic colors, some basic shapes. Here we didn't have still images, but at least we could do a bit of interaction because we could kind of drag and drop some things around. And these evolved a lot as computers evolved. And nowadays we have these. This is just another version of Mac, more recent. And here we see that actually design became much more complex because if we see in the screen, we can actually see we have depth in the screen, we have obviously images, the GPUs get better, so we can just render better graphics. And yeah, design is kind of evolving. But actually what evolves, in my opinion, almost the most in parallel to this evolution in computers was the browser, right? If you actually go back to the browser, when it started, it was just images and text. We just had that, and we were really happy with it. I mean, my dad had a website back then. It was pretty ugly, but it was functional, and he sold through that, so it was nice. But obviously it evolved, and now we can, with the browser, we can basically do everything. We can render 3D objects. We can, yeah, you have like this, the Apple website is pretty nice. And I would say the browser is the winning horse because also interaction is much more powerful in the browser. And talking about interaction, I would say the most interactive thing we have right now is the phone. If you actually think about it, it's something that you have in your pockets, and there's nothing in between you and your phone. Like with a computer, you have a mouse or you have a keyboard. With a phone, you literally touch it with a hand. And that actually changed how humans behave with technology because, for example, when I touch this with my hand, I expect it to move. And yeah, it reacts to my touch. So we expect the same from the phone. So then micro interactions and how it feels, it's really important. So yeah, just taking into account, okay, screens evolve from really static, really basic shapes, until really interactive as today, rendering 3D images and so on. But okay, now let's stop for a second. It's amazing what we've achieved in terms of how to interact with technology. But how did the tools we use to create them achieve, right? As a designer. So I'm going to go back into the story of the tools as well. And well, we'll see how they evolved. So if we go back in time, I think Alex mentioned a bit of that as well. But basically the first tool interface designers used was Photoshop, because it was a logic step. Like the first browser was images and text. And then you would take like, yeah, photo editing tool because it supported images and text, and you would just do it like that, and it worked. And then obviously browser evolved, and then Sketch appeared because we needed more, for example, refined shapes and so on. And Sketch was a game changer because it allowed us to build like kind of the images of the interfaces better than Photoshop. Photoshop disappeared. And then the collaboration appeared, right? The world is globalizing. We need to collaborate with teams. Figma iterated on Sketch and made collaboration possible. That is pretty cool. But if we analyze the output that we're getting as designers, right? We are, I mean, I don't design well. Cool. You are basically getting static images. Like all these tools are based in the same, which is static design. But the actual interfaces that we have today, they are interactive. So it's kind of, yeah, we're kind of far away. So yeah, I would say, just to summarize the first part, interfaces evolved from static to interactive, but actually the tools we used to create them didn't. But why is this affecting the way, the design process? So let me just do a little example here. If you think about the first thing, design process may change from person to person, from team to team, but basic things, the first thing you do, you have an idea, you kind of draw it down. And here you may understand what I mean by that, like a sortable list, and then you can sort the items in the list, right? This is called low fidelity prototyping if you want, called Sketch as well. And most like, I mean, you understand what I mean. I need to explain it with my hands, but you can get it. Then the next logical step from that is actually to put in an interface because you're designing for interfaces. So this is most likely the first mockup you're gonna do. And what happens here? Like, if I actually stop here, or there are two things I can do, right? I can ask for feedback. And then if I actually ask for feedback on that, I'm gonna get, oh yeah, I don't like the typography that you're using. oh, yeah, I think they should be wider, something like that. But as a designer, you don't want this feedback right now. You just want, I mean, I can explain, yeah, this sort of list, you go from 3 to 2, what do you think? You're gonna tell me that, and I'm gonna tell you like, yeah, but I mean, on how it works, you know, on the list itself. But you cannot get the feedback because the person cannot read your mind. I mean, you can explain with the hand, but they just cannot. And then another thing that you can do is like, you stop here and you hand it off to your developer. So what happens? You tell them, look, you have that, or yeah, you have that, please make it move. But then what happens? That you haven't thought of like a lot of edge cases that can happen. So you haven't thought like, how is the 3 gonna slide on the 2? When is it gonna change? Like, there are like a lot of things that you haven't thought about. So I'm just gonna show you the next one, and I just want you to look. I'm not gonna speak for 3 seconds. So just, I mean, everyone gets it, right? Like, I don't need to explain it. It's kind of self-explanatory. And now, if I actually ask for feedback, you're gonna be like, oh, look, yeah, it's cool that you can move it, but actually you should put a button that allows me to kind of restart from 1, 2, 3, 4, because now I have to reshuffle it manually. For example, give me this kind of feedback. You can also give me feedback on like, I don't like the typography, or I think they should be wider, but at least you have like a broader feedback and you don't have to give so many iterations between, yeah, just so many feedback sessions on how to improve it. Obviously, feedback is super important, it's super good. But yeah, you get the idea. You don't lose time on explaining because you can just see it. So I would say in the current design process, maybe yourself, you think about it as well, but I think it's too long. Like, I mean, it just gets so many iterations from like static, then you give it to the developer, and they have to do it from the start. You give feedback, oh, I don't like it, or start again, or it's even linear, that it just, you don't even have the chance to go back. So I would say in order to save this time and just to streamline this communication as well, because at the end you have to work together, we would need to get closer to the end product. And for that, we shouldn't lose that much time explaining things, because actually you design 50% of the time, and most likely you explain 50% of the time as well, which is not what you're here for. So yeah, how do we do that, right? So I think a good question to ask ourselves is like, okay, what is the end product built with, right? So well, if you actually look at the interfaces that we talked about, the one that evolved the most was the web, right? And a lot of webs are built in React, and also, well, actually, do you know what that is? React. I mean, I say it already. But yeah, a lot of webs are built in React, and also a lot of apps that you use are also built in React, just React. And developers use React to basically make components out of the interfaces. So to work with the UI elements of the interface and just develop in a systematic way as well. So why is this important? And are you familiar with components? Everyone? Well, I mean, I would say this is a component, right? I mean, these are different components. And if you think about it, developers have achieved this role, right? Like, I mean, developers can create components. You are also familiar with components. You can see that. You don't see, well, you see an input field, you see a slider and so on. You don't see a line with a circle. You see a slider. But what happens? Developers have achieved to make it interactive. In the interfaces that we design for, they are also interactive. But what are you doing? You're designing it statically and telling the user, like, imagine if the slider could slide, right? But actually imagine that you could give the user a slider that slides, or an input that actually they can put input in, this kind of thing. So it's really important for this design process to actually work, to get this interaction from the start, because then you can actually prove your ideas. And in your mind, they are actually interactive. You see the slider moving. So yeah, well, I would say this is the things that we were thinking in Framer, bringing interactive from the start, but also Alex also talked about it before, reusability, like components. You can build a component and then reuse it, iterate on that, but you have a base to start with, and you can share it across the teams, and then designers and developers both think in the same way. So yeah, I hope this is clear. And well, we based all these and more things to create Framer. And Edo's going to give you an overview, but before that, we're going to see a quick video. But just to, are you familiar with Framer? Anyone ever used it? Cool. So for the ones that don't know, basically Framer is an interactive design tool. And before you can say, oh, prototyping, I would say interactive design because we want to allow you to express your ideas interactively from the start. You can call it prototyping, we call it interactive design, and you can do both in Framer, basically. But let's actually, I'll stop talking and let's see it in action.
As Aroa mentioned, framework changed quite a lot in the last year. And who of you ever designed anything in Framer? Oh, that's amazing, actually. Okay, cool. Yeah, because maybe many of you don't know, but now with Framer X you can start the project from the very beginning with the design and then bring it to life with prototype, like in-app, and by using React. Now I'm going very quickly to give you a brief hands-on, so no more presentation, the actual thing. I'm going to open a special Framer file that is built to grow, to go through each step. I guess most of you design Figma and Sketch, right? In these tools, everything you design in a frame is just going to stay there in the layer panel. So most of the time you might find yourself reordering this layer panel and making order of each element. And this is like kind of a tedious project. Like I did this myself before a lot. And what I love about Framer X is that you can actually just move a frame to one to another, and Framer guesses automatically the hierarchy of the parent layer. So you can see that when I move it inside this frame, the parent is this green, and if I move it inside this other layer is automatically going to be inside there. What is really cool about this is that in this way, Framer can guess automatically the constraints, which makes it amazing for responsive design. I guess many of you design for responsive devices, and you just need to place your button. Framer will try to guess as much as possible where you want your button to be, and then you can just resize your screen and see it exactly where you want it to be. If you want it, like if you position on the left, it will just stay on the left. And if you position on the right, if you position it on the right, will just stay there as well. By the way, I'm very sorry for the very bad design I'm going to do, but like with the microphone and the trackpad, it's like not the best setup. No, it's fine. But thanks. Framer is, of course, capable of designing icons and any other vector editing. We can see with this icon, you can change points. You can easily add Bezier curves. There are even Boolean operation. And what is amazing about Framer is that what you see on the canvas is actually the real SVG. So you always manipulate the real thing, and you have a one-on-one export when you actually export these icons. So it will always be super accurate, super pixel perfect, which is great. But now, let's go back to the core. Now that we designed this icon for our app, I want to show you something that I really struggled with before. And I want also to ask you, how many of you with a menu or something try to reorder items in this way, like losing a lot of time, and then like everything is misaligned, you don't really know the spacing anymore, and then you try to guess it. Super tedious. But what if with a new tool like that we built exclusively in Framer that nobody else has, is like we draw a stack, is there in the layout panel. So we click it, we just draw an area in our menu, and then we just drag and drop our item inside. Now everything gets automatically spaced between each other, and I can even decide in the properties to be left aligned or right aligned or anything I want to. And amazingly, I can even reorder this item just like this. And it takes out all the hassle that I had before to align things manually. This is extremely flexible. And like now I can, even with one hand and one trackpad, I can even turn this into like a website navigation. So I can just stretch this and I can change the layout to horizontal. Yeah, I resized a little this one. But if I change the spacing and from start I want it to be, let's say, evenly, then I have pretty much in 2 seconds website nav. Stack, I can also press S, and now in 2 seconds again, I'm just going to drag and drop the icons and create a tab bar. Can you see something in the screen? I don't know if it's big enough, but then I can reorder very quickly. And I have it. It's right there, extremely flexible. Do you think it's cool? No? Yes? Cool. I'm super excited about it. Still not getting used to it. And it's amazing. Every day is like, wow. But now we made some static designs, cool, but what if we can animate really easily and without writing any code? Framer now allows you to do that, which is amazing. And it takes literally 1 second. If you want to do a screen-by-screen animation, you just press L, and then you just link any of the screen you see in the canvas. In my case, I want to go to the home screen, and then from this icon, I press L again, and I go to the side menu. Again, Framer here does a lot of magic automatically. So if we click the preview on the right, so it's here, it's detached, and I can actually play with it immediately and see the result. So the animations are really smooth. It already pushes like an iPhone. If I click on the menu, automatically Framer guesses that this is a menu and it's coming from the left, and it also puts an overlay behind that I can click to dismiss. All this is done in 1 second by Framer. Of course, I can still customize it, so I can go back to my canvas and I can decide, okay, for my transition, I want actually not a push, but an overlay or a model or something else. This is pretty quick to set up, but now let's go next. Now, you are probably familiar with components and symbols, right? This is something that Framer, the version before of Framer, didn't have, but with Framer X is there. And if now I create a component by pressing Command K with this one, a component is immediately created. If I go in my component panel, I see it with the other components right there on the top right, and I can drag and drop an instance to my canvas again. So this is the master, and this is an instance. I can, probably now I need you to, yes, shortcuts. Okay, I'm duplicating by pressing Alt. And now I can override, I go back solo. I can override each of these instances. So I can, for instance, change the avatar. I can change the main picture. And then, yeah, of course, these are just overrides, so will not affect my master component. And everything I modify in the master component, I will see the changes immediately live, so on the same canvas, which is also pretty nice. Now that we have built this sort of feed for a photo app, we can link it in a scroll component. So scroll component, as the name says, is like when you want to rapidly scroll. It should be easy to set up, right? Because it's super common in any design. And this is, of course, super easy to set up in Framer as well. You just draw an area that you want your scroll component to be in. So I'm leaving out the top navigation and the bottom navigation. And then just by dragging this to the right, I already connected it. You already see in the canvas that the scroll area is right there, and I can preview it. And it just works as expected, I would say. Did you expect this or not? I don't know. But also the way Framer renders animations is pretty amazing because the library allows like this very smooth bounce effect, which you as a designer really want in a tool because it provides like real feedback. It feels like real. It's not like, you know, a web-based thing. It's like it's an actual app right there. Now, we've gone through scrolling and we just added actually a new interactive tool that makes a page like this a little bit more interesting maybe. Like you are familiar with Facebook or with Instagram. There are some posts at some point that you can scroll horizontally, right? Now, this is, and of course, Framer can allow this. It's like page. We just added this. And you can draw again like an area and then very easily select the images you want to be in there. So I'm going to select these 4. And then if you toggle this option to show, you can already see that they are linked together. So you see this as a preview, and you can change, let's say, the gap. You can change, again, the direction and a ton of other options. And then when you preview it, it's actually going to work as a scroll component that inside has this page component that you can scroll horizontally. So this is quite an advanced interaction that we just built in 2 minutes. And yeah. Now, going back to the core of Framer, that has always been like the power of code. And as Aroa mentioned, the code that now Framer uses is React. It's not anymore CoffeeScript, which was a little bit obsolete, but is React. A lot of developers nowadays use React in production, so it makes it like one-on-one for designers to be synced with them. And you of course can still create your own component. So if you're in the component panel, you create a new one and decide if it's from design, so from the canvas or from the code. If you decide from the code, Framer automatically opens a pre-filled code components for you that you can edit in your favorite editor. But let's say you are not really looking forward in creating your own code component because it takes a lot of time, of course, but you just want to rapidly prototype something that feels real, and maybe, you know, you're just looking for a video player or something like that. This is where you head to the store. This is also quite unique. Is a fully fledged store inside Framer, and you can browse like a number of packages. There are design packages, so with design components, but there are also code packages that have actually interactive switches or sliders or buttons. You can see iOS kits or Android kits, as well as very small specific components like sliders that are extremely customizable and they work out of the box. But you can see even like a YouTube player like the one we were looking for, and just install it in 1 second. Once you install this component and you go to your component panel, it's going to be there immediately, ready for use. You can just drag and drop it, and then you actually have the YouTube thing. It's like not a representation or something like, you know, an image, but it's actually the thing is there. which is amazing. Now, again, if you preview this, you can actually see it in action. Watch the video inside. But of course, design components and code components in the store are pretty amazing to get started with, especially if you're not familiar with code. You can just drag and drop the real thing, head to the store. Someone else probably already built what you're looking for, which is an amazing way to jumpstart your projects. What if you work in a company? How many of you work in a company? Okay, that's quite a lot. So if you work in a company, you probably don't want your own component to be published like for anyone. So of course, that is something we thought about, and actually in these days we are rolling out a version of the store that can live on your own server, so it's secure and is only for your own teams. And this is like the team store. Now you see Framer store because we work in this company, but this can be pretty much anything. Like your company you work at with your own component, searchable right there. Anyone can publish a component. Can be a simple logo or an image, but can be also a code component from your own engineers. So the components you are already using in production, you can have it in your own store, drag it in, and then start reiterating with the real thing, which is extremely powerful. Another amazing thing is that, like, how many of you, when joining a new company, started chasing people to see which one were the last assets, and then asking, okay, who is the owner and when it was updated and this kind of stuff. Like, it happens a lot, right? And then the Framer store, like the private store, would allow anyone that joins just with the email address that has like a domain, like farfetch.com, to have immediately all the assets right there updated. You can see whoever uploaded that package, which version it is. You can update it if you want, if you have a previous version installed, which is quite powerful. So we did this little deviation in the store, but I wanted to show you the final thing that we built together. And for this, I'm going to select the first screen. And then here I enable actually also a phone with an hand that makes it a little bit more fancy. And then we can go and see everything we just designed, like the scroll, the page component. We can see our menu, super smooth. And we can go and play our video again for the third time. I'm joking. I'm stopping it. And yeah, this was the hands-on on Framer. And we can go back to the presentation if I find it. These are the prototypes of the community of Framer, like amazing people doing experiments, posting every day on a number of websites, like also on Facebook, Slack, but also Dribble. And it's amazing for us to see this happening. Yeah, we hope you all will contribute in this. And yeah, I give you back the microphone, the final closing. It is probably a little bit better than you.
No, I just wanted to do a closing statement. I would say, I mean, this is what we thought about the design process, and that's where we thought it was broken, more like the static than no interactivity and so on. And I would say the design process was broken, but I would say we're fixing it together. So I just encourage you to keep on learning from others and don't get stuck on what you're doing right now. Just be flexible to learn other workflows, learn from other people, because that's how you grow as a designers as well. And yeah, that's it. So let's fix it together.